This video begins with the mysterious moment on Oak Island that shook the entire world. The treasure that has been sought for centuries. It seems it's finally about to be revealed. As the camera pans underground, the sounds coming from there sound like a cave. And suddenly, something glows through the soil. The team's faces display a mixture of surprise, fear, and excitement. No one can believe this is really happening. It's being said that the object found this time is different from all previous discoveries. Some are calling it an ancient Templar artifact, while others claim it could be evidence of a secret civilization. But the real question is, has Oak Island finally revealed the secret that has been hidden for 200 years? Or is this the beginning of a much bigger story? People on social media have gone crazy. Some are saying, finally proof. Others are saying, this changes everything. Now, the truth will only be revealed after watching the video, so be prepared, because what you see next might just change your mind. If you enjoyed this mysterious story of Oak Island, like the video, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe, so you can be the first to see the next shocking revelation. Comment: do you think the real treasure of Oak Island has finally been found? It's a night scene. A cool breeze blows over Oak Island. A thick fog hangs overhead, and the hum of machinery echoes throughout the area. At the excavation site, a few faint rays of light pierce through the mud and dust. Exhaustion is evident on the workers' faces, but there's also a glimmer of hope in their eyes. Everyone's mind is filled with the same question. Has today finally revealed its secrets? The camera slowly descends into the pit where the excavation is underway. From the depths of the soil, the sound of machinery, "Gung! Gung!" comes as if something heavy is trying to emerge. Suddenly, a member of the excavation team shouts, "Wait! We found something!" Everyone's hands stop, and silence descends. Everyone turns their flashlights in the direction of a faint glow emanating from within the soil. That glow gradually intensifies. The soil is removed, and something metallic is revealed underneath. Someone asks, "Is it just stone?" Another replies, "No, it's something else. Look, its surface is shining." The excavator slowly tightens its grip and begins to pull the object up. As the object rises amidst the mist, soil, and machinery, a strange energy fills the air, both a strange fear and excitement. When the object finally emerges fully from the ground, the entire team's eyes widen. It was no ordinary object, a heavy metallic structure that appeared ancient. Strange symbols were engraved on it, resembling an ancient language or a mysterious code. Rick Lagina slowly approaches, his breath catching. He says softly, "Guys, this thing looks real." His voice is filled with both curiosity and fear. Emma Culligan shines her flashlight on the symbols and says, "It looks like some ancient script. Maybe Latin or Templar symbols?" Marty Lagina, standing nearby, examines the object carefully, his arms crossed. He says, "It's too early to say anything until we test a sample." But curiosity is evident on his face. For a moment, there's silence. Only the rustle of wind and the faint hum of machinery can be heard. Everyone stares at the metallic object as if they can't believe their own eyes. When the camera focuses on the object, a faint glow runs across its surface as if it's charged with some energy. Rick gently removes the dirt from it. His fingers shake off the dust, revealing a raised mark, a cross that resembles the Templar symbol. Rick's eyes are filled with wonder. He says, "If this is what I think it is, then we've changed history." Marty walks over and kneels near the object. He uses his flashlight to spot more symbols on its surface. Circles, arrow-like marks, and some unidentified words that sound like ancient code. He says, this object could be part of a chest or a fragment of an ancient machine. Emma interrupts, if this is truly a Templar artifact, we must seal this place immediately. We need to take photos and readings before anyone outside sees it. Meanwhile, some members of the excavation crew are recording the entire moment on their mobile cameras. Some have fear on their faces, some have confidence, and some are simply staring at the scene in silence. Then suddenly, a gust of wind blows, and the flashlight falls on the metallic object. For a moment, it appears as if the object is emitting a faint blue light. Everyone looks at each other in surprise. Rick says, "Did you see that?" Emma replies, "Yes, it wasn't just a reflection." At that moment, the entire atmosphere of Oak Island is shrouded in mystery. The camera slowly pans back, revealing a view of the entire excavation site from above. Work has stopped everywhere, except for the object in the center, faintly glowing in the moonlight. A voiceover comes in. Has Oak Island finally unlocked the secret it's held for 2 centuries? Is it the key to a hidden treasure? Or a message from another world? The question resonates in the air, and from there, the story unfolds, unraveling its true mystery. The night had calmed down a bit. The air was cool and a faint smell of earth wafted. Rick slowly approached the gleaming metallic object. His hands were caked with mud, but his eyes held a distinct sparkle. He stared intently at the object, then bent down and touched its surface with his fingers. There was a moment of silence. Rick softly said, "Maybe we've finally touched history." His voice was filled with emotions, fear, joy, and surprise. The rest of the team fell silent for a moment. Emma Culligan stood nearby, observing intently, while Marty Lagina, with his hands folded across his chest, watched the scene intently. The astonishment was evident on the faces of the other workers and technicians. No one could believe the moment was truly upon them. Rick stared at the object for a moment, then softly said, "We've worked hard for years, and today, perhaps Oak Island has given us an answer." His eyes are moist, and his breathing is heavy. He steps back for a moment and looks up at the sky, as if thanking some invisible power. Marty comes over and puts a hand on his shoulder and says, "Rick, calm down. We have to look at this from a scientific perspective." Rick smiles and nods. "I know, Marty, but some things can't be explained by science alone." As he says this, he looks back at the metallic object as if it holds an incomplete answer. The camera now pans away from the site, the garden shaft. This was where excavations had been underway for the past several months. Rick and Marty knew that this time they would have to find answers not through traditional methods, but through modern technology. So they installed new equipment, sonar scanners, muon tomography, and ground metal detectors at the garden shaft and the DN11.5 borehole. These machines had detected a strange signal underground just a few weeks earlier. At the time, no one expected it to reveal such a huge mystery. Sonar scans revealed a square-shaped metallic reflection beneath the ground. When the readings kept coming from the same spot, Emma Culligan suggested using muon tomography, a special technique that could create images of the underground using cosmic rays. It took weeks to set up this technique. After each scan, the data was processed in computer software. Gradually, a clear shape emerged. About 170 feet beneath the soil, there was an uneven but solid surface. Its texture was so clear that it looked as if a human had carved it. Rick immediately said, "This isn't natural. Someone made this intentionally." Marty then ordered deep-frequency metal detectors and ground-penetrating radar to be installed. Each time, The readings revealed a very distinct electromagnetic signal from the spot, a signal that didn't match normal metal at all. The team's scientists were astonished, but Rick was confident they were about to find something extraordinary. After days and nights of hard work and weeks of digging, the moment finally came when the machines touched the object. Cameras were rolling, dirt was flying in the air, and the excavation team's faces displayed both fear and hope. As the object surfaced, everyone held their breath. Rick would always remember that moment. He later wrote in his diary, "Today, Oak Island has said something. This isn't just metal. It's a story deeper than we can understand." Garden Shaft was no longer just a site for excavation, but a living boundary between history and science. The object now before them raised questions. Was it part of an ancient treasure, or a relic of an ancient civilization? Rick's eyes held that question, and perhaps the answer was buried deep down in the soil. Rick stood before the mysterious object, his eyes brimming with excitement and confidence. To him, it wasn't just an artifact, but the answer to a centuries-old quest. He whispered, "Marty, we've found what we've been hoping for." But Marty was silent. He looked at Rick, and then at the shining metallic piece, without saying a word for a few moments. Then he said slowly, "Rick, I understand what you're saying, but until we have proof, it's just a story." There was neither coldness nor anger in his voice, just a glint of scientific truth. Rick smiled, but there was a slight disappointment in his eyes. Marty had always been like that, practical, logical, and cautious. While Rick thought with his heart, Marty thought with his head. Rick said, "Sometimes faith comes before proof, Marty. This island has called to us again and again, and now it's speaking." Marty immediately replies, "Or it could just be a game of our minds. It's foolish to assume anything until science confirms it." The brothers fall silent. Only the distant hum of the excavation machine can be heard. The entire team overhears their conversation, and a slight tension settles in the air. Emma Culligan interrupts and says, "Okay, let's get the proof. We'll start sample testing." Marty nods and says, "That's the right approach. We'll test it first, then we'll decide what it is." Rick doesn't say anything, but his eyes remain fixed on the metallic object, as if he knows the answer is already there. The very next day, a small sample is cut from the object and sent to the lab. The sample is sealed in an airtight container to prevent contamination. Marty himself oversees the process. Every step is scientifically documented. Rick stands at a distance, watching silently. He's confident the test results will prove what he's been anticipating. 3 days later, the report arrived. The team was sitting around a table, and the atmosphere was tense. Emma opened the report and began to read softly. The metal composition shows unusual characteristics. She paused, then looked up. This alloy doesn't match any known element combination. Everyone was shocked. Rick's eyes lit up, and Marty's face grew serious. Emma continued, "We checked its density and molecular pattern. It doesn't resemble any modern industrial metal. It contains traces of iron and nickel, but also some elements that science hasn't yet been able to categorize." Rick immediately asked, "Could it be natural?" Emma shook her head. "No, its symmetry is perfect. Someone made it. But how and when are a mystery." Marty leaned back in his chair and said, "So you mean this object was made with some unknown technology?" Emma replied, "Or some ancient metallurgy technique that's not available today." The room fell silent for a moment. Rick said softly, "I told you, this place is hiding something." Marty took a deep breath and said, "Or maybe it's confusing us." Marty's analytical mind was working as he flipped through the pages of the report. He said, "We need a second opinion. This sample should be sent to an international lab. We won't jump to any conclusions until we get independent confirmation." Rick replied, "Okay, but remember, some truths are greater than science." At that moment, the thinking of both brothers was clear. Rick believed that the truth hidden in Oak Island could change human history, while Marty wanted logic behind every theory, proof for every theory. This contrasting thinking made them a perfect team, one searching with the heart, the other investigating with the mind. That night, Rick stood on the beach, the breeze caressing his face. He looked in the direction of the distant garden shaft, where the metallic object was kept. He had only one question in his mind. Is this the treasure, or some greater mystery? Meanwhile, Marty was scanning the data on his laptop, scientifically verifying each line. They were each searching for answers in their own ways, but both knew that Oak Island was no longer the same. That metallic object had shaken not only history, but also the very thinking of two brothers. One considered it a miracle, the other a challenge. 3 days later, when the lab reports were fully confirmed, Marty called the team back to Garden Shaft. Their next step was to perform a 3D mapping of the underground. Emma Culligan combined muon tomography and sonar data to create a clear picture of the entire underground structure. When the first 3D scan loaded onto the monitor, everyone's breath held. Below the metallic object, another large structure appeared on the screen, resembling a chamber. Its shape was roughly circular, but a small, tunnel-like passage was clearly visible in the middle. Emma said, "This isn't just a stone or a rock cavity. Look at the symmetry. It looks like a structure built with some purpose." Marty immediately noted, "If it's man-made, it could hold the key to Oak Island's biggest mystery." Rick added softly, "Or maybe it's the roof of an old vault." The team analyzed the scans in more detail. As the layers were removed, it became clear that the metallic object was connected to a larger sealed structure. Surrounding it were voids and narrow chambers, as if an intricate tunnel network existed beneath. Dr. Spooner, looking at the report, said, "This isn't geological, Rick. It looks like some ancient construction." Rick smiled and said, "I told you, Oak Island isn't mysterious for nothing." The narration now goes into flashback, around 1795, a small island named Oak Island off the coast of Nova Scotia. 3 young boys, Daniel McGinnis, Anthony Vaughan, and John Smith, spot a mysterious depression, as if a pit had once been filled in. Curious, they begin digging and find layers of wood just a few feet below. The same pattern repeats every 10 feet. This was the place that later became known to the world as the Money Pit. Over the years, numerous expeditions followed, each with a new team, each with new hope. But the deeper the excavations went, the more the mystery grew. Sometimes logs and stones were found, sometimes coconut fibers and parchment. Then came Borehole 10X, Dan Blankenship's discovery that ushered Oak Island into a new era. He dug a vertical shaft that revealed underwater tunnels and cavities. Wooden structures and drain systems were found in Smith's Cove, proof that someone had carefully constructed this place. Gradually, people began to understand that Oak Island wasn't just a natural site, but could be the work of an ancient civilization or secret society. Then, many years later, Rick and Marty Lagina entered the scene. Ever since they read an old story about Oak Island as children, the two brothers had dreamed of finding out the truth. When Rick first set foot on the land, something resonated within him, as if the island itself was calling him. Marty brought modern technology and funding. Rick brought passion and faith. Together, they resumed the longest treasure hunt in history. And now, centuries later, that metallic object and the chamber beneath it were repeating the same story, but this time with evidence. Emma paused the scan and zoomed in. The underside of the object revealed some patterns that weren't random. Rick looked closely and said, "These look like symbols." Marty placed a marker on the screen, and everyone's eyes widened. The design resembled a cross. The team cleaned the object's surface and captured the symbols with a high-resolution camera. They included geometric shapes, curves, and small letter-like markings. Emma said, "These aren't just decorative. Maybe they're part of a code or a map." Rick took a deep breath and said, "These are the same markings I saw in old Knights Templar manuscripts." The Templars, those mysterious warriors who were considered guardians of sacred treasure and secret knowledge in the 12th century. Many historians claim that when their empire fell, they hid their treasure somewhere safe, and Oak Island is associated with that legend. Rick said softly, "Did they really reach Nova Scotia?" Marty said lightly, "Rick, we need more data than legends." But Emma placed two images side by side on the computer, one the symbol of an ancient Templar shield, and the other the engraving on the object. Both were nearly identical. Silence fell over the room. Rick said softly, "If this connection is true, then Oak Island could be not just a treasure site, but a sacred vault." Marty remained silent, but curiosity now etched into his face. He asked Emma, "How deep is this chamber?" Emma replied, "About 200 feet. And what lies beneath? We can only find out by digging." All team members were now looking in the same direction, toward the glowing symbol on the monitor, which perhaps held the key to a centuries-old mystery. Oak Island was no longer just an excavation site, but a doorway into history. As the Oak Island team continued their excavations around the mysterious metallic object, questions began to arise. Dr. Spooner, looking at ground samples and sonar data, said, "This can't be a natural structure. Its structure is too perfect." Emma Culligan nodded. "But we shouldn't rush to conclusions. Sometimes geology can deceive us. It might be part of a rare mineral formation." An archaeologist standing nearby said, "No, its symmetry and markings indicate someone created it. It's an artifact." The debate escalated. On one side were Dr. Spooner and some scientists who believed it was a man-made structure. On the other side were Emma and some geologists who argued that it could be an unusual geological phenomenon. Marty Lagina listened intently to both sides, and Rick stood quietly, staring at the metallic object. For him, it wasn't a debate, but a question of faith. He said softly, "Sometimes the proof isn't where we look for it. It's right in front of us." The room fell silent. Dr. Spooner said, "If this is truly an artifact, it would mean the existence of an ancient civilization or a secret order." Emma replied, "Or it's a piece of nature that surpasses our science." The discussion between the two gradually escalated into an argument. Rick and Marty intervened, deciding to temporarily halt the excavation so all the data could be re-verified. But the next day, something unexpected happened. When the team arrived at the site in the morning, government vehicles were already there. Yellow tape was placed around the site, and armed security officers were monitoring the site. An officer told Marty, "This area is now under government supervision. No further excavation is allowed without authorization." Everyone was shocked. Rick said, "But why? This is our private excavation." The officer simply said, "National interest, Mr. Lagina." Emma said angrily, "Is that thing no longer ours?" Marty said calmly, "Looks like we're done with it." That evening, the Oak Island excavation was officially sealed. The team had to leave the site, and restricted area signs were posted outside. Rumors began swirling. Locals began saying the government had sent the metallic artifact to a secret laboratory. Some claimed to have seen helicopters flying over the site at night. Another said there was a massive explosion in an underground tunnel. Someone said, maybe they opened the vault. And the news spread like wildfire across the internet. Oak Island Treasure, Ars Templar Gold, and Forbidden Discovery began trending on YouTube and Twitter. On Reddit, people were theorizing. Some said it was a hidden treasure of the Vatican. Others called it a holy relic of the Knights Templar. Some users even claimed the object might be of alien origin because the lab report listed unknown alloys. Emma watched videos on her laptop where people were saying, "Something has been found on Oak Island that could change human history." Rick also saw a clip in which someone said, "The government is hiding this because they don't want the truth to be revealed to the world." Marty sighed and said, "The internet turns everything into a conspiracy." But Rick remained silent. He felt that perhaps there was some truth to these rumors. Why did the government intervene so quickly? And if this object really belonged to an ancient order, do they still exist somewhere? Rick sat alone in his cabin at night. The wind was howling outside, and the window overlooked Garden Shaft. He wondered, did we really find something we shouldn't have found? Just then, his phone rang. A message from Emma. "Rick, the government has taken the sample from the lab. Now we have nothing left." Rick stared at his phone screen for a moment, then said softly, "The truth can't be hidden forever." The camera slowly pans away, leaving only the sound of the wind echoing through the Oak Island night. Meanwhile, theories were swirling on social media. Some said Vatican representatives had arrived at the site. Others claimed secret military trucks had taken something from there. And someone on Reddit wrote, "The Oak Island excavation has uncovered what should have remained buried." Now, Oak Island was no longer just an excavation site. It had become a battleground of mystery, politics, and fear. People from all corners of the world were asking, what is the government hiding? Rick Lagina knew this story wasn't over. It was just the beginning of a truth the world might not be ready to hear. While the entire team was focused on the mysterious metallic object, new readings began coming in from another borehole named DN12, a short distance away. The metal detector operator suddenly said, "Guys, you see this? The signal is very strong." Emma and Marty immediately rushed to the monitor. The data displayed on the screen stunned everyone. High-frequency metallic reflections were continuously coming from that location, even deeper and larger than the previous one. Marty put his hand to his forehead and said, "That looks like another massive structure." Rick was silent for a moment, then said, "If this is true, then there are not just one, but many layers beneath Oak Island." Emma deepened the scans, and the readings were unstable, sometimes strong, sometimes disappearing. It seemed as if something below was disturbing the signal. The team immediately decided to stop excavation to check the status of the new borehole. But at that moment, the atmosphere was filled with suspense. Rick said to Marty, "Perhaps this object is part of a larger network, and we've just reached the surface." Marty nodded. "Or maybe it's something we shouldn't disturb." All was quiet. Only the distant sound of ocean waves could be heard. The next day, it was decided the team would attempt to reach the chamber. Everyone was ready, cameras were on, and excavation began. The sound of the machines pushed the soil away. After a few feet, a stone-like layer appeared, and the old Templar symbol was engraved on it. Rick shone a flashlight and said, We're on the threshold now. Dr. Spooner warned, "We must be careful." When the chamber gate opened slightly, a faint light suddenly shone on the symbol. At first, everyone thought it was a reflection of the flashlight, but the light grew stronger on its own. Camera lights began to flicker, and suddenly the entire site was plunged into darkness. With a bright flash, everything went white. No machines, no screams. Just a few seconds of silent blackout. Then only Rick's voice could be heard. Low and heavy. "We saw something we can't explain." The cameras slowly turned back on, but the footage was incomplete. What was recorded had some strange distortions, like electromagnetic interference. Marty replayed the recording over and over, but no one could understand what happened in that flash. Rick just sat on the ground, clutching soil in his hands, disbelief in his eyes. The next day, the excavation was halted. The government arrived at the site again and sealed off the entire area. Rick's team was asked to leave. They didn't protest, just silently watched as the greatest discovery of their lives was snatched away from them again. That night, Oak Island was completely quiet. No lights, just the sound of wind and sea. Slowly, soft background music began on the screen. A voiceover came in. "The truth of Oak Island isn't over yet. The real story is just beginning." Rick's voice echoes softly, "What we saw is perhaps beyond human comprehension." The camera zooms out from the island, and the tiny speck of land slowly disappears into darkness amidst the blue ocean. Then comes the narration. "Do you think this was treasure or a secret from another world?" The question is left for the audience. The screen reads, "Share your opinion in the comments, like the video, and don't forget to subscribe." A slow fade-out ends with just one line. "Because the mystery of Oak Island isn't over yet."